Serious. Oh, welcome everyone. This is Jim Welsh, Vice President of Operations at Stevens Van Lines. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day today to attend our workshop. I think you'll find it very informative and a great way to start off our peak season with all of our ducks in a row here. We will be focused, obviously, on our #1 business goal of providing total customer satisfaction. With that in mind, we have a pink truck, and I understand today it's out in Boston. And Jerry, we have Jerry Rudolph here from our marketing department, who is a big player in the pink truck program. So I'm going to give her 30 seconds to hit the program for you. Go.
Wow, thank you, Jim. I didn't realize I was doing this. But what we would encourage folks to do is that definitely to be reminding your customers about this, that every state-to-state move that Stevens provides and any of our agents provide, that we do give a donation to the National Breast Cancer Foundation for those moves. Also, please encourage your friends and customers to check out our special webpage, stevenspink.com, and our Facebook page, and become a friend on Facebook. There's going to be a lot more things coming down about being a friend on Facebook. So with that, I believe I have taken up my 30 seconds. Thank you, Jim.
Just love when people are on the spot in a live show. It just, helps out a little bit. Jerry, thank you very much. And I was really glad to see you here to review that with everyone. Let's go through a couple more slides here and get to the, whoa, look at that one, huh? Photoshop, Jerry? No? Actual picture, huh? Vegas. Where's the hubcaps? The driver didn't lose the hubcaps in Vegas, did he? Let's move on. There we go, central operations. We will address central ops first. Obviously, with our business strategies, we will be held accountable for our TCS results in 2012. And you'll hear me talk about proper time management as I go through this presentation of mine here. Next slide, please. This particular slide just gives you a little idea of how in some of the percentages and shipments that we have loaded throughout the peak season. I really do not want to get that into this in detail here, but we've included it in the presentation because our entire workshop here will be on Stevens TV Live. Is that correct? Where you can go on SBL Info and you can actually view the entire workshop today. Next, please. Go ahead, Jerry. Go ahead and just go through the next slide. And I won't bore you with these statistics, all the stats on this slide here. This has to do with our, as you can see, the week ending 7/30, 7/23, and you look up above and you see those columns identified in terms of shipment count and weight, and it gives you our pick and hold percentages for our peak periods from May through the end of September. So, but I'll let you view that slide when you're reviewing this particular workshop later on down the road. The customer satisfaction, this particular slide here is a picture of our quality scores, our customer satisfaction scores, by shipments that are delivered on a per month basis. So as you can see that we have 3 years involved in here, 2009, 2010, and 2011. And you can see that 2011 at the end with 87.6 was was a huge challenge for us from a total customer satisfaction standpoint. Went backwards in 2011. I know our industry struggled in its entirety, but we obviously need to stay focused on us. You can see in June and July, it was very painful in August in terms of where we were in terms of our TCS scores for our customers. I believe we have way too many slides in here, and somebody did not hold these slides to the side. So, Jerry, just click, there we go. That's where we'll start here. But anyway, those slides are very handy to review and you can always give me a call to discuss them in detail because they are a snapshot and a true picture of our total customer satisfaction results over a 3-year period of time. In the fall, because we did go backwards with our TCS scores, we assembled here in headquarters a TCS task force, and its entire mission was to improve how can we improve ourselves so we can improve our TCS during the peak season, on the basis that if you can do it during the busy time of the year, you should be able to do it in the slow time. So a lot of the things, these are some of the key points that came out in the task force, and the people that participated were all the stakeholders within the TCS process, various department heads as well as staffs. We met every Friday for 3 hours. There's actually a 54-page document that came out of this entire task force results, and many of the things in that document now are incorporated into each individual department's business strategies for 2012. But some of the highlights, we felt that we did not have the proper staffing at headquarters, so we have been addressing that diligently over the last 2 or 3 months and have hired people and are in the process of training them. We said we must increase our training for our staff as well as all our service providers, and we have actually put together a very extensive program for the onboarding of a new PVO when they come on board here in headquarters, so that we can take them through a pretty extensive training process. We have the TCS University coming up at the end of the month, which is all about hands-on training and time management and customer relations and crew behavior. And we also said that we really need to hold all our frontline and support and service providers accountable for providing total customer satisfaction. And that really comes through not just a real firm commitment. It comes through a training and educational process of all employees. So specifically in central operations, let's talk about what some of our business strategies are, specifically designed to help our service providers, PVOs as well as our agents, to be successful in this business. We knew that we need to hire some staff, so we've increased our dispatcher by 1 down in Ruston. We also said we need to train and retrain our operations staff on all of the service expectations as well as the entire accountability process. We've specifically addressed our own time management skills in terms of what do we do from the moment we walk in the office and sit down. Who do we call first? Why are we calling that person? What type of information are we looking for? What type of information are we putting in the system so our move centers know that by when they make their quality call at 10 o'clock, they can believe what they're reading in the system. And again, we will hold all service providers accountable for consistently providing TCS. It's not a sometimes thing. It's not different for each and every one of us. Total customer satisfaction is the same. Everyone's goal is to have a happy customer when we are done with the move. So, we believe that some of the changes that we are making in central ops with staffing and our time management skills, it will really add to the success of our PVOs out there in terms of being independent business people as well as achieving total customer satisfaction. Let me give you an example of what we talk about time management in central ops. We've actually broke down and dissected every function that a dispatcher has to perform within their daily work. We found that there was way too much clerical work. So, when you think about our dispatcher as the person that actually manages the service provider, it's in the home. And when you have that person burdened with extensive clerical works, chasing paperwork, people calling them looking for weight tickets, dispensing money, things like that, they're really away from the basics of what their job function needs to be, and that's managing our service providers that are in the home. So I'll give you an example. When our dispatchers come in, they will have their particular PVOs lined up according by time zone, who's making deliveries. So when they walk in the morning, those are the first 5, 6, 7 calls that they're going to make. And the reason being is because we will hold all of our PVOs accountable to being at residence by 8:30 in the morning, because that's when the customer's workday generally starts. And when we show up at 12, we really start off and create a terrible image with that customer, and it sometimes is very difficult to recover from. So we're getting back to the basics here and being where we have to be, and that's why the dispatchers will be calling all PVOs that are scheduled to make deliveries that day by time zone to make sure that they're at residence by 8:30. Reason being is the move center person is going to make a quality call about 10 o'clock to say, well, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, how is the move going for you today? The last thing that move coordinator wants to hear is that, well, it'd be going very fine if your truck was here. So if you ever want to hear silence, that you will hear it right there. So same way with deliveries. After we make our phone calls by time zone to find out, making sure that everyone's where they're supposed to be, and if they need anything to help them get that help, our PVOs on their deliveries by time zone. That's the next call that the dispatcher will make. So once we make sure everyone is where they're at, where they're supposed to be on time, and has all the tools and everything they need to provide TCS, that dispatcher will then go into and talking with their drivers who are en route, reviewing future loads, so forth and so on. One of the things that the support staff that we'll be adding, they'll make sure that the PVOs have the right service instructions, and even reviewing service instructions where need be. So it's going to be a very time-sensitive and well-structured process when people walk in the office to work in central operations, and we believe that that will implement a great improvement in everyone's time management skills, because people will be held accountable for that. I think I have reviewed, we'll have 2 people that do nothing but work with our crate and freight programs on our small shipments. We will be coming out with our summer pricing here, peak pricing, and within the next 2 weeks. I know that we plan on implementing and giving people an opportunity on a small shipment program, because we believe that from a shuttle standpoint, we know that there will not be tow-away companies' capacity to do shuttles like we would like to do. Also, from a crate and freight standpoint, we know that there will be a shortage of lift vans out there. So we will really be working on a small shipment program in terms of discounts and prime periods. Next, please. Well, I guess I don't have to read that, do I? Well, you know, it's all about being focused on customer satisfaction. So, and proper time management skills. So we think that our task force really gave us a lot of information, our TCS task force, and we have employed many of the action plans in place, and we're starting to see some results. Do we have any questions there, Greg, that anyone would like to convey at this time?
Nope. Nope, not at the moment. Anybody want to type some in?
Well, I want you to know that last Wednesday we had well over 100 people attend the workshop, and I think there must have been about 15 questions just alone on operations. So I must not be doing a good job today in my presentation, no? Greg?
I'm not sure what the thing is there, Jim. One thing you might want to tell the van operators,
sure.
Something exciting is going to happen on April 1st. Just came out yesterday.
An increase in the tariff?
That's it.
Oh, okay. That's true. It's we're raising our tariff at least a couple of percentage points, but also The summer rates increase in our military business, 10% increase takes effect for shipments moving after May 15th, Sean, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So we're all getting a little raise. That's good. We can all use that. We know.
Jim, can you talk to someone here about mine? I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, well, keep looking. But that's a good point, Greg. Yes, our tariff April 1st does go up by 2%, as well as our military tariff on May 15th. The rates have a 10% increase. I forget. Well, I haven't seen that in a long time. I forget what we used to call that. It was a seasonal rate adjustment. Yeah, that's what it was called. So.
Not only that, the new fuel surcharge figures came out yesterday, and I think the government orders are up to 16% now on the fuel surcharge, and
COD was 15%.
15%. So
I know there was for some reason some notices went out there and said that it went down, and I will tell you it was lighting a match throughout the system. I never received so many phone calls and emails within 10 minutes after an email went out about something than I did about saw about the fuel surcharge.
All I want to say, Jim, is that wasn't my fault. I was just posting out there what I was given.
I got you. You apparently have a question, Greg, or something?
Mr. Ayala wants to know are other agents cooking burgers and hot dogs for PVO's Day. Apparently, Steve Grennan's got the grill cranked up there, and
really,
they're having a big lunch.
Well, that's very nice. I know we have a lot of our PVOs at agents, and we certainly appreciate that. And as we go down the line here, we'll be talking about various technology improvements and things that will help our PVOs be able to participate in even more online training and communications and what have you. So, but Steve, thank you very much. That's very nice of you.
Yeah, we do have a question from Benjamin. If a customer asks for asks for a later ETA, does that count against the driver?
Well, I think that when a customer, are you talking about 11 o'clock in the morning, or are you talking about a different delivery day? I'll address both of them. Number one, we expect everyone at the house at 8:30 in the morning. If that customer says, no, I don't want you there till 11, you need to communicate that to your dispatcher. And the reason being is dispatcher needs to be able to communicate that with the move centers so that they're not calling at 10 o'clock and saying, how's the move going? Oh, didn't your driver tell you we set it up he's not going to be here till 11? Very important that we all maintain our credibility in front of the customer. Now, when it comes to the customer saying, no, I know you had me scheduled to deliver on the 15th, and on load that they say, well, I'll deliver on the 16th, even if that 16th is within the spread, you must confirm that and get that information back to your dispatcher so they then can get with the move coordinators, and the move coordinators will confirm that with the customer that they, in fact, want to deliver on the 16th. You cannot just be driving around the country changing dates and times. That's the number one rule when it comes to, you want to upset a customer, it's not being where you're supposed to be according to what their service expectations are. At the same time, you have to be cognizant that we have many people working behind the scenes making sure that that customer is happy. So you have to be aware that there are people that are going by what is in the system. And if we dead reckon your trip and those are the dates, you cannot change those without talking to your dispatcher first, period. And I hope there's no misunderstanding on that. Very important that you understand that because of all the communications that need to take place. Oh, let me bring something else up, too, since we're talking about that. 2 weeks ago, we had one of our PVOs. They were doing their job. They were calling ahead and talking to the customer. But in this particular case, it was like a Wednesday for a shipment that was supposed to be loaded on, or I'm sorry, this was a Tuesday for a shipment that was supposed to be loaded on a Wednesday. And the PVO said to the customer, well, you know what? I'll load you and deliver you a day ahead of time on the 2nd. And what happened is that the original driver he filled out. So he knew he had a big shipment on. He hasn't seen the other 6,000-pound corporate shipment, and he's already setting the delivery day and expectations with the customer. This is a wrong thing to do, and I will tell you that the problems and the issues that this created with our corporate account was huge, because when that driver filled out, we had to put another PVO in there. PVO is there loading, and the customer says, I just wanted to confirm you're delivering me on Friday. And he said, no, sir, I'm delivering you on Saturday. Now, that driver thought he was okay because he's within the spread. The problem is that the previous PVO decided to make some set of service expectation at the wrong time and did not advise their dispatcher what they were doing. And I will tell you that this happened on a corporate account that we've spent 4 years trying to get in the door. And I don't think I need to say any more about that. Tremendous issues and problems with that. So,
I got a couple other questions here. We'll kind of tie together. You know, what if it's a shuttle and you can't get to the residence by 8:30? And what happens if you break down on the way? Does that count against you too?
Well, let me clarify something here. People in headquarters are not out to get you. They're not looking for things to put, you know, to count against you. It's all about the communication process and common sense. You know, when you're making your call befores, and that's not 5 o'clock the day before you're going to deliver a shipment. Your call before on a shipment when you're making deliveries, as well as your conversation with that customer when you're loading them, you should ask some questions about. I always tell men to ask questions about destination to get a feel for where the customer's delivering into. You know, you can find out. A lot of them have brochures where they're moving into. It can show you information. You'll know right then and there whether or not that truck has accessibility. So you can start now working with the dispatcher, you know, to where a shuttle is not a surprise. So it's all about proper time management when we talk about these things. You know, breakdowns are going to happen, and people understand that, but you know, customers do not like to hear excuses. So you need to have enough time and manage your time right, and have your PMs done, and make sure your unit's running well. So, you know, breakdowns, we understand that. Weather conditions, we understand that. And as we go down further here in our presentations, we think we're going to improve your ability to communicate your issues. I don't care if it's 2 o'clock in the morning. You will be able to communicate issues that you have where you're trying to be and get where you need to be. So, you know, I don't accept excuses for not being on time where you're at, period. And then we're going to hold the line on that. So,
okay. Kurt Foster wants to know, how about a little more packing this year?
Okay. We definitely have areas that are in the country where we do not have a prime agent that packs shipments. And we have to make them driver pack. We are a van line in itself. We have our agents that are preferred packers that we work with to pack. But I could foresee as we expand our corporate business opportunities, we obviously do not have a location on every street corner. So I can see that, yes, you know, packing opportunities will increase there for many of our PVOs.
You know, and another thing, Kurt, it's really funny because some of the van operators out there, they don't want to pack. They don't feel that it generates sufficient revenue to make it worth having to hire extra labor and you know, spend an extra day on the job in some cases to get a job packed. I suggest to you that you let your dispatcher know that, you know, if you do want more pack jobs, and maybe they can do something to, you know, maybe guide you into those positions.
Any more questions, Jim?
What about PVO pack or PVO jobs? Driver shows up and nothing's packed on load day. What should the driver do?
Well, right away, don't panic in the house, because as we all know, many times the customer's best intentions just do not take place. And, you know, there's a lot of reasons why people are not packed up and ready to go. And it's certainly not meant to be a vindictive act so that when you arrive that you're all upset. I mean, people have many issues in life, and obviously moving is a very stressful and traumatic time. So we do not want that customer to feel like they've let us down. We want that customer to feel like, you know, we're going to take care of this. Stand back and relax and enjoy yourself and just let us take care of it. We're going to do a great job for you. I know, though, that when you show up and things aren't packed, it turns the world upside down. You need to get with your dispatcher immediately so that we can take a look at your entire load that you have on, your commitments that you have on. We understand that if you're walking in and all of a sudden you're loading 10,000 pounds and it's not packed, you may not have a crew there that you're comfortable with to pack. So, you know, get with operations immediately and we will work those details out, okay? Don't raise such a degree of concern in front of the customer. Now the customer is sitting there saying, oh, wow, what type of service am I going to get? And I know this is a big thing with our move counselors that they always stress to us, you know, that sometimes we take something and move it from a 0 to a 7 on an alert scale, and it's certainly not necessary to ever even do that. So
well, I think we're, Robin Kasich's here from our move center. Robin, I think we're trying to be proactive on that, aren't we, as part of our pre-move when your counselors are calling to check on packing?
Yes, we are, definitely. The day prior to the arrival of the crew, when we contact the customer to give them the ETA, we are asking the question, have you completed the packing? So at that time, if they say they haven't, we can find out what needs to be packed, and we can contact the driver or the dispatcher to alert them to please bring the additional cartons if they're able to.
You know, Sean, I'd like you to make a comment on this, too. I know that, you know, our service people, their families and themselves are sacrificing many, many things to defend our country. And to think that you show up and they're not fully packed, there's a lot of reasons why that may not be happen, you know. And I think it's just very important that the empathy and the sensitivity to the situation that we truly understand, you know, that packing may not be the number one thing on the mind of someone's spouse whose spouse is in harm's way. I think we forget that sometimes. We get all caught up in the hustle and bustle about what we're doing.
Well, as you know, Jim, on military shipments, every box has to be carrier packed and inspected by someone. So if there is packing that's left over for the convenience of the customer, the driver needs to be prepared to perform that packing and provide that customer service, and let their dispatcher know what cartons they packed, what cartons they supplied and packed, so that we can take care of that after they've taken care of the customer.
Great point. So I wanted you to make a comment on it. All right, Greg, what do we got? No questions, huh? Oh, it's a lively group. Okay, I tell you what, I will hold you all accountable for not having enough questions. But other than that, let's move on to our national account business. And Robin is in studio with us today. Vicki Beerline is outside on sales calls, and she's calling in from her outside office. So, Robin, go ahead.
Thank you, Jim. Good afternoon. This is Robin.
And this is Vicki.
First and foremost, we want to thank all of our PVOs and crew members out there for what you do for us, what you do for our customers. You have the most important job within our van line. We realize this, and you are the face of our company, so please keep that in mind when you are out there on the streets in front of our customers, that you conduct yourself professionally, because that is a reflection on our entire company.
What we'd like to talk about today are some of the best practices. These are the things that our customers tell us their PVO did to make their move a wonderful experience. So we wanted to share that with everyone. And then also, on the flip side, there are things that our customers tell us that did not go so well. So we also want to share that with you and offer some suggestions on improving that.
One of the first things that our customers will tell us is that they really appreciate it when you do call the day before the move to introduce yourself and provide your arrival times. The earlier in the day, the better. That way the customer can certainly plan the day when you're arriving. If there is a delay and you will not meet the committed time that you told the customer you would arrive, please call the customer and your dispatcher immediately to advise, and then the dispatcher will then let us know in the move center so that we can follow up with the customer as well. The customer should never have to call into Stevens looking for an update on why the driver is not there.
And we also take some time to prepare a service instruction sheet. And the move consultant will learn from the customer things that are very important to them, things that they're concerned about, items that require special handling. And also, on the service instruction sheet is we'll let you know of any special circumstances involved in servicing the move. If it's, you know, an 8th floor apartment and you have to deal with a freight elevator and park around the block, things like that, so that you're prepared, you have enough crew with you so that you can pull off an efficient day. So it's very important that you review that service instruction sheet the day before the move at the very latest with your dispatcher so that you have a clear understanding. We want to set you up for success, and the more you know prior to going into the home, the better prepared you'll be, so that the customer will be at ease as well.
This would just be an example of the service instruction sheet that you folks do get with the driver paperwork and in advance from your dispatcher. We are working with IT on this now to somewhat clear this out a little bit. There's a lot of information on there, but we want to make sure that you do get all the information so that you are best prepared when going in to handle the customer's move.
Excuse me, Robin. I noticed on that service instruction sheet there was things about the mat cartons, and let's just take a second to talk about that a minute, because that is a huge issue with us from a claim standpoint, and it's one of those very sensitive items or belongings that a customer has when we damage it. And it seems like every time we're on the phone and we're asking the PVO, how did this take place? And, you know, their first comment would be, well, the agent that was packing did not leave the cartons, the mattress cartons in the house. My first response back to them is, so what? You should have taken your shrink wrap, protected the mattress, and padded it before you took it out of the house so that you would protect it, to where you get someplace to get mattress cartons. So because the agent did not drop off the mattress cartons for whatever reason, there's no excuse to be damaging someone's expensive item. I saw somewhere that the average claim out we're paying for damaged mattress and box springs like over $3,000.
Right.
I mean, that's unbelievable. And then next thing you know, the PVO is calling me and saying, hey, can you help me with my claim rating, Jim? You know, because it's affecting my dispatch. So now I take a look at their claims and I go in there and I see mattresses. And it's like, you know, why don't you just hit yourself in the head with a ball peen hammer?
Unbelievably, Jim, we had four instances just in the corporate move center last week regarding mattresses being delivered uncovered, dirty, ripped, damaged of some sort, and the reasons were, as you know, by speaking with the PVOs, where they didn't have the carton. So, you know, even if you are planning on putting the mattress in a carton in the trailer, for whatever reason, I believe our policy is to put it in the carton in the home, but please make sure you let the customer know that you're doing that. They just see you carrying the mattress out without any covering, but worse, they see you carrying it in and it's dirty or damaged. So that sets the customer off immediately and causes a problem, because nobody wants to sleep on a dirty, ripped up mattress. So we have to then immediately allow the customer to go buy new or get it cleaned, and it's just inconvenient for the customer on their very first night in the home.
And not too many accept the cleaning of their mattresses. I'm going to tell you that right now. Right. Not too many of them will let you do that. It's, hey, I want new. I'm sorry. I think it was a point. I just wanted to make sure we talked about it.
And Edmund here has a good idea too. He says he picks up a couple spare plastic mattress bags and keeps them in the truck, you know, in the event that something comes up.
Yeah, you know, you need tools to do this job, folks, and you should have tools in your truck, because you might only have a max on a claims liability, but somebody's writing that check for $3,000. And I, you know, if you had to pay the total $3,000, you'd figure out how not to have that happen again, I would think. So, you know, this is where you just get honest, and you know, you just have very straightforward, honest conversation up front. There's not too much, you know, there's icing on this. You know, you just have to be very blunt about it. Common sense. Let common sense come into play here.
Right.
I'm sorry, Robin and Vicki.
Please remember, professionalism is king, and first impressions count. I think Jim can touch a little bit more on that with his 7-11 rule that he's been talking about recently. Can you share that with us, Jim?
I certainly can. For some reason, I didn't see it on our slides here. Okay, so you know, let's talk about this a little bit here. On the 7-11 rule, you know, a lot of researchers talk about what really makes things sensitive, and how does a customer perceive you when you walk up. So let me spare with one moment here so that I can get my notes here.
Well, it's in the first 7 seconds of seeing the customer seeing the crew, they determine 11
Correct.
Different things, right?
Yeah. You know, it's that friendly 7-11, not the slurpy one either. So when you and your crew exit your vehicle and you're walking up to the sidewalk, in that 7 seconds, that customer takes a look to see at the cleanliness of your crew, you know, do they look friendly, or are you walking up to the lawn, up to the front door, with a scowl on your face, and someone's going to be afraid to answer the phone, the door. You know, the minute you open up your mouth, they're going to check out your credibility. Did you thank them for giving you the opportunity to relocate their family? You know, how much appreciation did you show for that, the opportunity? Do you have empathy when you're talking with them about things that may be sensitive, that they really want to make sure that we're handling properly in the home? You know, it won't take them long to figure out the knowledge, whether or not you really know what you're doing, from how you start managing your crew, you introduce your crew to them when you go in the home, how they're laying down the home protection using the Stevens Home Protection Kit. Are they courteous? Or are they just walking by and not saying anything other than not even a good morning? How are you? We're looking forward to working with you today. We're going to do a great job. Does your crew, you know, exude confidence in what's going on? So that customer says, you know, I chose the right company to move my family. So, you know, we talk about those 7-11 rules and what have you. You know, what's that customer do at that point in time? They decide, well, do I like you? Do I not like you? Or am I going to have to stand back and just wait to see how you perform to make my decision? But if you always remember that 7-second rule and about all the questions that customer is answering to themselves and the judgment that they're making in terms of, am I going to enjoy this, or is this going to be the worst decision I ever made?
Right.
You know, so I mean, you know, it's kind of that's kind of our TCS moment of truth, we call that, right? When that customer first lays eyes on you and your crew, that's the TCS moment of truth. They start making decisions in their mind, mentally and emotionally, what type of day it's going to be and what type of move, the quality of a move they will receive.
Right.
So, and I apologize for the slides being out of order there, but it's a good catch, Robin. I appreciate you getting back to that point.
Got your back, Jim.
Thank you.
Hey, Vicki, another best practice that we hear from our customers, or that we would like to make sure that the PVOs are remembering, is on your service instruction sheet is listed in the origin section what the top customer concerns are, and please make it a priority at the beginning of the day when you first arrive to residence to view that, so then you can right away talk with the customer. It helps the customer feel comfortable with you, that you care enough about their items or their top concerns to address it with them immediately. Also, a reminder about the high-value inventory. That protects you from claims later, and we definitely need to know what is involved in the shipment, and any high-value items always need to be checked over by you, the PVO, so that we can be ensured what is inside the carton.
Yep, good point. Another best practice is to call the consultant handling the move if there are any questions or if you need approval for any additional services. Last minute and unusual things do come up on moves. For example, we talked about earlier about unexpected packing you weren't prepared for, or if there's an extra stop. We want you to be paid for the work you do. So we need to know as soon as that becomes apparent, because oftentimes we need to get with the corporate client, the employer, and get it approved, or we need to speak with the customer directly if it's the COD move and make sure they understand what the additional charges are going to be. So you need to either call the dispatcher and let them know, or the move consultant directly, and then we will intercede on your behalf and talk with the proper people to get it approved. We don't want you to have to get into discussions or arguments or anything of that nature with the customer. Let us explain that to them, and then we can make sure that you're paid for that. This might be pretty obvious, to stay involved with the customer during the loading and delivery, to check on them. If you're on the trailer all day during the loading or the delivery, you may not have a good idea of what's going on in the house. If the crew is in there, if they're dinging up walls or sliding boxes downstairs or anything like that, and you don't know how the customer is perceiving the crew in the home. So it's a good idea to check in with them periodically throughout the day and just say, is everything going okay? Do you have any questions? Do you have any concerns? Just so that they know that you are on top of it and that you have their best interest at heart.
Yeah, Vicki, I'd like to, if you don't mind, make a point on that one. Too many times I talk with our PVOs and they say, well, no one's loading my truck but me. And I get into those conversations because, you know, they're a 3-rated driver, and I go, hey, what are you going to do to get yourself up from a 3 to a 2 or a 1? And we start talking about their operation, and they say, you know, well, I asked them, do you load your own trailer? He goes, I'd never have anybody else load my trailer. And I go, then who's managing your crew when you're in the house? How do you know what your crew is saying and not saying? Because the last 2 surveys I called you on about comments about what your crew said in the home, you knew nothing about it. So we end up with a bad quality score, an unhappy customer.
Exactly.
And, you know, so when you set up your labor, when you set your labor up, you need to ask for a loader, you know, and you need to check out the first tier to make sure that person can load. But if you're not managing your crew in the house, we are not going to reach our total customer satisfaction goals, period. And we will be losing customers. You know, it takes years and thousands, actually millions of dollars to gain customers and only seconds to lose them. And that's where we lose them, folks. We lose them when we do not manage the crew in the home. So I'm sorry, let me get off the stump on that one, but it's so key.
Well, Jim, just to add into what you're saying, an opportunity for improvement is to be very careful about what is said in front of the customer between yourself, the PVO, and the crew. The customer may be just standing around the corner. You might not see them, but they're interested in what you're saying, and they can hear you. And we hear comments and see comments in the customer surveys about the driver and the crew were, talking about their personal life, or the crew was complaining about the money that they're going to be making on the job, or the PVO was complaining about the money. So please be very, very careful about what is said in front of the customer or in an area that the customer can hear you. If there is a problem with the move, or if you need something clarified, please go out near the truck and call your dispatcher or call the move consultant to make sure you get clarification. It shouldn't have to be in front of the customer and letting them know that you're not happy about something.
Excellent point. The next opportunities for improvement, respect the customer's property and make sure your crew does as well. And what we mean by that, you're the professional van operator. They're expecting you to come with all of the tools, all of the equipment that you need to properly service their move. And if you need to, Greg, I think you need to go back a slide, but that's okay. You don't want to borrow the customer's dollies, their tools, anything that belongs to them. You should have all of that equipment in your van so that you can take furniture apart, whatever is necessary. They're very protective of their household goods, and you just don't want to be using that. Another thing is to respecting the customer's property is something kind of silly maybe, but for the ladies out there especially, the use of the bathroom in the home. Make sure that your crew is being neat and tidy in there. Make sure they're washing their hands when they come out of the bathrooms. It's amazing how many comments we get about that. So as if you were just, in a friend's home or a relative, you want to be respectful at all times. And so talk with your crew about that.
Yeah, Vicki, too, when you talk about bathrooms, there's a powder room. It's not to powder your nose. Powder rooms are designed for guests in someone's home. A master bathroom is not designed for guests to come into the home. And when we are in someone's home, we are a guest. They've invited us in their home to provide a service. So we are a guest in their home, and we need to conduct ourselves accordingly. And when you get complaints back that, I told the men not to use the master bathroom, and they went ahead and not only used it, but destroyed it, those are difficult conversations with a customer.
Another opportunity for improvement is if you're delivering or loading for that matter, and you know that there's an item that was damaged by yourself or one of the crew members, please bring it to the customer's attention and notify your dispatcher. We need to notate that immediately that there is damage so there's no question about it later. But also the customer then, even though they may not be happy about the damage, they will show more trust in you than if you try to hide it or if someone's trying to repair it with duct tape or something like that. They're going to find the damage eventually. You might as well own up to it and be right up front, and the customer will feel much more comfortable about it. A lot of the complaints that we get from customers are not necessarily about their claims. It's about other items. So, please keep that in mind when dealing with the customer, and the same applies for damage to their home or property.
That's a great point. It's integrity and owning up to any damage, most definitely. Also, we want you to obtain a qualified and sufficient crew for the work at hand. Ideally, you should always, if there's a Stevens agent in that area, you should hire your helpers from a Stevens agent, both at origin and at destination. Recently, we contracted with HireRight, and by April 15th, all of the Stevens agents, all of their helpers, warehousemen, even their salespeople, are all going to have to go through and pass background checks. So our corporate clients are requiring this now, and that gives you a lot more confidence, too, that the people you're taking out on a job are going to represent us all very well. Now, if you are in an area where there isn't a Stevens agent, we strongly suggest you go to another moving company in the area versus going to a labor ready or picking someone up at a truck stop. We really have to take care of our customers and make sure that the people we're bringing into their home are going to serve you well and serve the customer well also.
Yeah, good
also,
point
one other thing I
about
wanted
that.
to add on that, if you are having difficulty getting help, you need to reach out to your dispatcher and ask them to assist you with that so that it's not 10 a.m. and you still don't have qualified help on the job with you.
Great point, Vicki.
I'd like to bring up some shocking numbers here. Please ensure that your crew understands and follows proper procedure for attaching hardware to an item. Missing hardware is one of the biggest claim problems that we have, and it's actually in the tune of $47,000 in 2011 is what was paid out in missing hardware claims, which is up $13,000 from the year before. A lot of that's money coming out of your pocket because the crew didn't know the proper procedure for attaching hardware. So please be very aware of this. With corporate customers, we can't have them sitting there without their beds put together for too long. So in many cases, we'll have to call a third party to come out and bring hardware, and that adds a lot of extra money. So we don't want to do that. We don't want to upset customer who can't sleep in their own bed the first night because their hardware wasn't properly attached. The other item that's been a large claim as of late is missing items. The proper procedure for checking off inventories is very, very important. If you can believe this number, $274,000 was paid out last year in missing items, which is up 60 grand from the year before. Those are unbelievable numbers. And if you're not properly checking off the inventory or ensuring that the customer does, we have a problem. They can claim a missing item and we have no idea what was in there, and usually it's not going to be pillows or bowls of Tupperware, so it's going to be more expensive items that are missing. So please protect yourself, protect our company from paying out this type of money, and ultimately it's an unhappy customer because they're missing items. Customer evaluations are very, very important for the corporate customer as well as the military customer, which Sean will be bringing up. The customer evaluation is what the corporate customer wants to see. They want to know how many of our customers are happy. So the customer evaluation is how we get future business. So the customers asked how the relocation consultant handled their move, how it handled the coordination, how the packing crew did, and how their items were handled with care by the packers. Did the packers arrive on time? Same with the loading and the delivery crews, as well as how did they protect the home? Did they use the home protection kit? Did they cover the floors? So the ultimate question, of course, is the overall satisfaction of the move. But we have to keep in mind that the customer's perception of our service is what's important. They reveal it on the customer satisfaction survey. So even if we feel like we delivered the customer on time within their delivery spread, If the customer specifically was told they had a different day for delivery and then that changes, their perception is that we were late. So we have to always keep in mind when we're trying to make the customer happy, we are all working together as a team, from the relocation consultants to the packers, driver, and even the claims folks as well as the accounting. We're all part of the team that makes sure that the customer is satisfied. So that evaluation will secure future business for us as long as that's a positive overall experience for the customer. Are there any questions at all that any of you folks out there have for corporate accounts or customer service?
Well, let's bring in our next presenter. I tell you, we are kind of disjointed here today. You'd swear people were up all night partying at a frat party, Jeff, you know. Okay, let's get the slides rolling. Let's snap up. Let's get it rolling. Okay, Sean Knapp, our government traffic manager. She will bring excitement to this presentation today. Right, Sean?
Absolutely.
There you go. Go. Oh, again, the slide. Oh.
Regarding military business, we have customer satisfaction surveys are required on military business. Every member is asked by the government to complete a customer satisfaction survey, and this survey asks the member to rate our packing, loading, delivery, and overall experiences. If the member rates us as good, we'd only receive a score of 75, and a 75 is not good enough. We need to have that member rate us as excellent every time in order to ensure additional business in the DP3 program. So one of the ways to do that is to provide customer service at every point. One of our biggest complaints is the driver did not call ahead of time or when he was delayed. And I know that both Jim and Robin and Vicki have covered this, but it's so important that we felt that we needed to address it at every segment. Calling the member, you should call before pickup, before delivery, and if you gave them a time and you're going to be late, you need to call them again. Your dispatcher is your first point of contact for any issues regarding delays or pre-approvals or conditions at residence. But you can always contact the move coordinator for any of those issues as well. Your move coordinator's information is provided on your service instruction sheet. Every DP3 shipment must be cleared with your dispatcher, which means that you will need to call your dispatcher to let them know that you have arrived for delivery. We need to know the whereabouts of every shipment. To provide excellent customer service, the move coordinator must be able to contact the member on delivery day, but if we do not know if the shipment is delivering or not, we won't be able to make that call. So advise your dispatcher about all your arrivals. And by improving your communications at every step, we can impact our overall scores. Go ahead, Jeff. Our other concerns for our customers regarding from their comments and feedback are dates and unpacking. Dates are set up with the move coordinator and the member. Do not change those dates with the move coordinator directly. Again, if you have any issues regarding dates and your schedule, you need to be working directly with your dispatcher so that the move coordinator can contact the customer and see if there's anything we can work out. But you shouldn't work those date issues out directly with the customer on military moves, because if you make a change and we're not aware of it, we can't contact the customer and follow up and do our due diligence there.
Yeah, Sean, there's a common thread here. Do not change any dates without communicating with your dispatcher, regardless whether the shipper tells you I want you to deliver a day later or you agreed to deliver a day earlier. That must be confirmed and approved through your dispatcher.
Thank you, Jim. Another issue we hear a lot of complaints on is unpacking. Every member is entitled to a full unpack and debris removal on delivery day. So plan to unpack and perform on every single military move. Too many times we hear from the customer that the driver said he cannot or does not unpack, and that simply is not acceptable. The government provides this service for the customer and pays us to perform that, and we need to be willing and able to do so. Meeting our date commitments and providing full delivery services will impact our loading, delivery, and overall scores in the future.
Good point about arriving on time. It's not just about being there on Tuesday. It's about being there on Tuesday at 8:30 in the morning.
Another area is special circumstances in the home. Special circumstances come up and need special attention. If you encounter any of the following, contact your dispatcher immediately. Mold and mildew is an issue that can spread. If you load it on the truck, they can spread to other shipments on the truck, but also can be a health hazard